Well, unfortunately, it started that way yesterday, and this is the way it's starting today. Good morning, I'm Tom Reynolds, and it is a mess on the QEW. We have a closure both here right now and ahead of this as you come over to Royal Windsor. So we'll update this situation coming up. Not a very good way to start November the 20th.
And I'm Rachel Schoutsen, and you know what? Yesterday's drive was a disaster. It was known that if you lived in Mississauga or Oakville and you left to get into downtown Toronto around 3 o'clock, it took you over 3 hours to get there.
The timing was exactly what we were saying yesterday. Started around 2 o'clock in the afternoon and then went right through the PM rush hour. So about 4 centimeters, but still nasty conditions.
Yeah, and you know what? It wasn't a lot of snow, but the ground was just frozen enough to allow it to stick, and roads were just a sheet of ice.
Don't feel bad because Buffalo's getting hammered again this morning.
Too much snow. Okay, let's take a look at our current conditions. Another day for Parry Sound. Also towards Buffalo, more snow. But we are going to see a wind switch. The winds will come more out of the north, and that's where places like Kincardine and Godridge will get into the snow squalls. Okay, more on the weather coming up, but first here's a look at... Yes, we are going to be taking a look at snow squalls throughout the day today. So winds still coming out of the west, and that's where we will be seeing a problem for places like Parry Sound. Also along the eastern shores of Lake Erie, unfortunately, Buffalo is into the snow yet again today. And then with that wind switch coming down in towards places like Godridge and Kincardine, for us here at the GTA, flurries are not likely. And you'll have to think about keeping warm throughout the day today. So head to Subway, grab a coffee as well, because temperatures, well, they look like this. Minus 14, that's what it feels like with these very strong westerly winds. And minus 17 in Hamilton. Take it a little bit further north, also feeling that extreme wind chill and also snow squalls likely throughout the day. Well, good morning. It's November the 20th, and we are in for another day of snow squalls and chilly temperatures. Rachel Schoutsen here with you.
And I'm Tom Reynolds, and it is a mess already on the QEW. We have a crash ending up like this. A lot of folks going off the roads yesterday. A lot of people don't realize you can move forward, no problem. Everybody finds it great moving forward. The problem is stopping.
Yes.
And a four-wheel drive doesn't stop any faster than any other vehicle. In fact, sometimes it loses control even faster. But nonetheless, you've got to learn how to stop and what speed you can go at, because that's what happened yesterday. We had crashes everywhere.
Oh, absolutely. It was a mess yesterday. Our temperatures were just cold enough to freeze the ground, and that snow that was falling yesterday, well, the good news is a November thaw is on the way. I'll tell you what that means coming up, but first, here's Tom with traffic. Okay, for us here at home in the GTA, a flurry or two maybe, but the big snow systems are not for us. They are for places like Parry Sound, like Niagara and towards Buffalo, and even through Kingston as well, as streamers will still be an issue. Then we see that wind switch, and then that's when the streamers will start to affect places like Godridge and Kincardine, even possibly London, Ontario. So the snow, again, is all going to be around the GTA. High pressure comes into place for Friday, and then our temperatures start to warm up with a big rain system that's headed to us for Monday. Well, some more snow. Not snow for us here in the GTA. Yesterday, we had 4 centimeters, and the drive home, OPP were reporting over 100 crashes. Today, it's going to be lake effect snow. So this is going to affect areas like, again, unfortunately, Buffalo, also up in towards Parry Sound, Cottage Country, and then even Kingston in the eastern shores of Lake Ontario could be getting into the snow squalls. We do have watches and warnings in place, as well as blowing snow. The snow that fell yesterday was very light, so with some gusty winds today, that could also be creating some low visibility. As we take a look at how much for us here in the GTA, not looking at any snow, but head a little bit further north and you could be driving in whiteout conditions. Niagara also. Well, I'm glad you're here because we have a lot to talk about. Of course, yesterday's snow, today's snow squalls, and a bad drive out there.
Well, yesterday was a disaster right from the get-go. I mean, it went all day, and then we got snow in Toronto. We just fell off the rails completely.
Yeah.
Right now, we get big problems on the QEW. 2 of them right now. Only one lane getting by at Dorval. We have another one over at Cawthra. So the QE's not good. 427. I'm hearing about a rollover up at Derry. Okay. So things are happening out there. People are losing control of their vehicles once again, and we have winds and some drifting snow.
Yesterday, 4 centimeters of snow fell in the city of Toronto, but the ground was just frozen enough. I want to send things over to Tom because big problems on the queue. Well, the roads are going to be slick and icy, that's for sure, because temperatures feel like minus 11 right now. It is cold. Expect another day of January. And in terms of the streamers, winds still coming out of the west, so places like Buffalo, like Perry Sound and Kingston, again getting into that lake effect snow story. The good news is the winds will switch throughout the evening, and those will start to die off for places like Perry Sound, but then pick up for Godridge. Also, looking at high pressure for tomorrow. Well, the flurries won't hit us in the GTA. That's likely today. We will be seeing the squalls, but it's not going to be for us. It's really for the snowbelt region. So again, Niagara in towards Buffalo. Sorry, Buffalo. Read up on that story. It is incredible. Also up in towards Cottage Country, like Perry Sound, and then around the Kingston area, eastern shores of Lake Ontario. Snow squall watches and warnings are in place, also blowing snow warnings as well. Now, as we take a look at us here at home, really not seeing too much in terms of the snow today. Yesterday was enough. Now, wasn't it? Only 4 centimeters, but driving was chaos. 3 hours to get into downtown Toronto. That was an average commute time yesterday. So we see the winds out of the west. Again, those will be bringing the snow squalls today. They switch into a northerly direction, so places like London, Ontario could be getting into the squalls through the overnight. And then tomorrow, a much clearer day. We're finally seeing a calm to this winter story. We'll tell you about
this weather.
And I think after yesterday's snow, some people need some cheering up. Only 4 centimeters, but it was enough to cause some trouble. Rachel Schoutsen here with you today, or at Rachel Schoutsen. Now, as we take a look at the snow squall watches and warnings, they are in place today. Westerly winds are going to be a problem. But don't fear, because for us here in the GTA, we are not really going to be seeing any snow. A flurry or two may travel over, maybe, but in terms of a big snow system, no, none is on the way. So that's the good news there. Westerly winds, though, will be bringing snow to places like Perry Sound, also down in towards the Niagara region. Buffalo, again, will be seeing some snow. Now, let's turn things over to Tom. Here is a look at traffic. Okay, thanks, Kevin. That's Kevin live in Oakville. And you know what? Driving conditions yesterday were terrible. And it looks like yesterday's traffic woes, unfortunately, are spilling over into today. And a flurry spilling over from the squalls, let's say, through western portions of the GTA today. But the driving conditions still a mess. And here's Tom with more. Well, the good news, Tom, is that we will not be seeing a snowy system headed into the GTA today. We will be seeing fairly clear skies, but with those westerly winds, snow squall areas will again be affected. Niagara, Buffalo, Perry Sound, Cottage Country, Kingston, all going to be getting into a snowy mess today. Now, temperatures are still freezing, so road conditions, they are poor. Of course, we will keep you updated with that throughout the hour. High pressure comes into play tomorrow, and then the warm-up, the November thaw. More details on that ahead. Well, the good news is I am not about to tell you that a low pressure system is headed into the GTA and we are getting another round of snow. That is not the story. So you can breathe a little easier at home. But we are still going to be seeing snow in the snowbelt regions. So along Lake Erie, Lake Ontario, Kingston, the Thousand Islands, and then also up in towards Cottage Country as well. And that's why watches and warnings are in place. Same story, different day. That's really what we are talking about here. Now, how much snow? So, of course, once you head north into Perry Sound, 40 centimeters possible. For us here in the GTA, western portions may see a flurry or two, but overall, today is not going to be a snow story. So we see the winds out of the west, and overnight, they'll actually switch to more of a northerly wind, and London could get into the squalls. And so we're dealing with those icy sort of road conditions. And also, I want to mention a blowing snow warning has now been issued for places like Guelph, Kitchener, Waterloo, and Cambridge. So mix that in, low visibility plus the ice. It could be a scary day.
Well, I mean, look at this. Look at this. I mean, look at what's happened to these people yesterday.
Yeah, and travel times easily tripled yesterday.
Oh,
it
gosh,
was a scary commute. If you were headed, let's say, out of Mississauga into the downtown, it took you about 3 hours to get home. And I know some people, you know, they think that's annoying, driving very slow in the winter conditions, but you have to.
Well, you might want to take transit. I mean,
on the drive today, pair that with some icy conditions, and it spells a mess. So with more on the mess, here's Tom. Yes, it is going to warm up. November thaw. That is going to happen Sunday in towards Monday. 12 on Monday. Pretty good, right? Okay, but first we got to get through this. Strong westerly winds, snow squalls to the north and to the south of us here in the GTA. Western portions of the GTA could be getting into the flurries, especially places like Cambridge, Kitchener, Waterloo, and Guelph. You know what, Kevin? It is warm, and I have the access to hot tea just around the corner. But when you're back, you'll get toasty too. All right, let's take a look at this radar right now, because this is where we do see some streamers again, right in towards Buffalo, Cheektowaga, right where they don't need the snow. Also up in towards Cottage Country, and then again around the Thousand Islands, Kingston, snow squalls again. So there's quite a winter setup, and that's what we are going to be dealing with throughout the day today. Not so much for here, us in the GTA, but with surrounding areas. So snow squall watches and warnings in place, and also probably closest to us here at home in the city of Toronto, taking a look at Kitchener, Waterloo, Cambridge, Guelph. This is where we could be getting into some of the blowing snow. So snow accumulations here at home, Mississauga, Oakville, Toronto, not going to be seeing snow today, but surrounding areas, possible another 20 to 40 centimeters. And Tom, that includes places like Buffalo. Yes, I do. And I hope they get them that salt there, Tom. Now, as we take a look, westerly winds. Again, that's what's going to be creating the snow squalls today. But watch this. Watch the change. Okay, there we go. In the wind direction. This is when places like London could be getting into the squalls as the northerly winds now blow down Lake Huron. We see a clearing for tomorrow. Calmer. A little bit more boring in terms of the weather story for Friday, but this is all good news because that gets us into a warmer trend. So moisture moves in, yes, but that all comes with a warm front. And look at our temperatures, 12. That is a much needed 12 on Monday. Long range is looking good. We're calling it the November thaw because on Monday we will be 12 degrees. Right now we feel like minus 12, okay? Just to put that into perspective of how much we're going to warm up. So today the story is snow squalls. Snow squalls off Erie, Georgian Bay, as well as Lake Ontario. And we can see that's currently where the snow is falling. Now, this snow could sort of trickle into the GTA, western portions of the GTA, and also the blowing snow with these gusty winds. So right now, Kitchener, Guelph, Cambridge, if you are out driving, you could be seeing low visibility due to blowing snow. Now, in terms of the amounts, in the city of Toronto, we will not be seeing accumulating snow throughout the day today, but take a trip up the 400, Highway 11 into Muskoka, and that's where you will find a whole lot more snow. So westerly winds, and those will be producing the squalls, and they also take a switch down to the north, and that means some squalls possible for London. Yeah, yesterday I was just around Clarkson Village and I was heading towards the Square One area. That drive is 15 minutes and it took me almost 45.
Yeah, it was terrible timing during the height of the rush hour.
QEW or the 400, Highway 11, whiteout conditions, icy problems as well. And we're dealing with some of that right here at home. So here's Tom. Well, the better news is we will thaw out into the weekend. Things are going to get warmer, especially into Monday. But first, let's get through this. Very strong westerly winds, and then watch this. Yeah, the winds shift and come out of the north, so that's when squalls could be an issue for areas south of Lake Huron. Then we see a dry day tomorrow. Winds calm down, high pressure comes into play, and then rain, but warmer temperatures. I'm going to change the weather, Tom. We do have a November thaw on the way. Yeah, a warm up for Monday, but today areas in Ontario will be dealing with snow squalls yet again. Up here in towards Parry Sound, this is a terrible scene along the 400 right now, Highway 11, whiteout conditions. Also along Erie and towards Niagara and Buffalo. Be safe if you are driving today. Watches and warnings in place. And I also want to mention a blowing snow warning in Kitchener, Cambridge. We could be seeing low visibility throughout the day today. And you know what? All of those stories and all of the issues from yesterday, unfortunately, they have spilled over into this morning's drive.
Yeah, we've been waiting for Salter for 4 hours in some cases to get down onto the QE, for instance. Right now I'm hearing about closures on Highway 11, Burke's Falls up to through Huntsville. Terrible conditions up there. Highway 60 is all closed out through that area, so a real mess. And last night it was just an absolute disaster on the highways here.
Cheektowaga, we've been talking about that a lot. 165 centimeters of snow. Okay, our story here at home, Tom. What's it like on the roads?
Well, it's not good in a lot of areas.
Yeah, that's a good tip there. Test out the brakes. That's what you need to do in terms of figuring out how fast you can actually go out there. Okay, westerly winds, that's producing the squalls, and then they'll switch to a northerly wind, and that will create squalls on towards the 401, let's say in London. So be careful if you have plans to head out that way today. Now, this is where the good news starts. So Start listening now. High pressure comes into play. It's a good day tomorrow. Rain for Saturday. I know, not the best news, but with this system here, this brings quite a significant warm front. We will go from feeling like -12 to +12 on Monday. So dealing with some moisture, yes, but finally we're seeing some warmer temperatures. Thanks, Tom. And you know what? These sort of conditions are not going to be a huge issue for us here in the GTA in terms of the blowing snow, but travel a little bit further north or down in towards the Niagara region and snow squalls are a huge issue throughout the day today. In terms of accumulation, of course, people in the snowbelts will be seeing another healthy dose of snow. Buffalo, you don't need any more snow, but possibly 20 to 40 centimeters is on tap today. Us here at home in the GTA, western portions of the GTA, you guys have the greatest chance of seeing the flurries throughout the day today. We do have those westerly winds that will continue the squalls, and then the winds sort of switch and come out of the north. And that's when places like London, Ontario, even down in towards Brantford, could be getting into some of the snow squalls again today. We do see a clearing for tomorrow and a warm up for the weekend. Well, this week we have experienced quite a bit of winter. Now, haven't we? We've been dealing with, of course, snow squalls north and south of the GTA, 2 rounds of snow for us here at home, and yesterday was a disaster. It was a mess. So this morning, right now. All right, Kevin, and yeah, you can see behind him there those poor road conditions on the side streets. So if you are just getting up now and you want to head out, your road is probably going to be full of snow, and your car, well, it's definitely going to be full of snow if it's not in the garage. Okay, now let's get into some temperatures right now, like -18. Now, snow squall watches and warnings, they are in place throughout the day today, but not for us here in the GTA, for areas north and west of us. So Kitchener, Cambridge, Waterloo, if you guys are listening right now, you are under a blowing snow advisory. So that means low visibility, possible whiteout conditions as you travel throughout the day. Now, in terms of amounts, here in the GTA, Mississauga, Brampton, Oakville, you won't be seeing accumulating snow today, but travel north up the 400, down onto the QEW, and that's where you could get into a real mess. Even along the 401 corridor out in towards Kingston, could be seeing some blowing snow through here as well. And that's all because of some strong westerly winds. But watch as the winds switch. There we go. Now it's more out of the north, and that's where areas like London along the 401 could be getting into some squalls. Tomorrow, the weather story dies down. Finally, we see a clearing in towards tomorrow, but rain is on the way. Have a look at this. In towards Saturday, Saturday's going to be a wet day. Freezing rain also possible, but this brings a nice warm front, a high of 12 on Monday. Well, what a week it has been here in Ontario. The snow squalls, the system snow, the driving conditions have been horrendous, especially yesterday. Now, in terms of the flurries, western portions of the GTA could be seeing a flurry or two throughout the day today, and that's all because of snow squalls. Snow squall warnings are in place. Also, a blowing snow advisory that has now been issued for Cambridge, Kitchener, Waterloo, and Guelph, also included in that. So how much snow are we talking about? Today, for us here in the GTA, not going to be accumulating snow. This is not a system that is headed towards us like what we saw yesterday. Today is just the blustery conditions and then snow squalls up to the north as well as down towards the south. Yes, Buffalo could be getting another 40 centimeters of snow. The last thing that they need. Now, as we see the winds coming out of the west, that will continue the squalls, but then they switch more towards a northerly direction, and that's when London, Ontario, even down towards Brantford could be getting into the squalls, and then we do see a great clearing for tomorrow and a warm-up for the weekend. Okay, I'm glad you're here because we're about to show you the difference in the weather that you could be seeing in Ontario. Oakville, where Kevin is, and then Parry Sound, where Kasia is. Now, Kevin Yard, in Oakville, Ontario, yesterday we saw around 4 centimeters of snow, and we're getting back into that winter routine. So how are people cleaning off their cars? Are they doing a good job today? Driving was crazy. Yesterday, out of Mississauga into the downtown took over 3 hours. Now, this is also a long drive up to Parry Sound, and this is where we find Kasia. And Kasia, you are one brave lady, and you look great out there in that red winter jacket.
I don't feel so great, and I don't think I look so great because I'm basically soaked to the bone, chilled to the bone. It is so very cold. Though, back to you inside.
Okay, Kasia, I bet you can't wait to get back here into Oakville, Ontario, where we are not dealing with snowfall right now. We're just dealing with the aftermath. But I want to warn you, snowfall watches and warnings in place. So if you plan today to drive up the 400 like Kasia and make it into Parry Sound, it will be a very different situation from what you're seeing here, let's say in Mississauga or Brampton. Snowfall totals in Parry Sound could be getting 20 to 40 centimeters. For us here at home in the GTA, snow accumulation is not going to be our story today. Okay, top 5 Canadian snowstorms. Now, what we experienced yesterday, it's not going to be a record-breaking snowstorm for us here in Toronto, but it created some havoc out there on the roads now, didn't it? Let's talk some totals. We have some pretty strong westerly winds, and this will sort of mix things around. So places like Guelph, Kitchener, Waterloo, Cambridge, you guys are under a blowing snow advisory. So keep that in mind while you're traveling out on the roads today. Let's talk totals now, okay? Here at home in the GTA, we are not going to see accumulating snow. There is no messy system on the way, but snow squalls to the north as well as to the south. So we could see some possibly blowing over maybe in towards the Hamilton region, western portions of the GTA, but overall, not a big snow story. We see those winds out of the west that will actually change into a northerly direction. There we go. And this is where places like London, Sarnia could be getting into the squalls later on today. Well, what a week it has been. First, it was system snow, then the squalls, back to system snow. Today, we're dealing with the squalls. But in the GTA, in Oakville, where we find Kevin Yard, it's just cleanup day. Cleanup from all the snow that fell yesterday. It was only 4 centimeters, but Kevin, it was enough to create a terrible drive last night and this morning. And you know what, Kevin, that reminds me of a lot of pictures that I've seen on Facebook. Some excited kids making their snowmen with leaves all packed into the snow. Some interesting guys out there. Now, this is also a very brave lady, Kasia Badurka in Parry Sound. And Kasia, I feel like every time I've seen you this week, you've been in the big red parka getting just blasted with snow.
But all this to say, stay off the roads if you are in this region, Rachel.
Kasia, that is great advice. So it looks like Parry Sound could be competing with Buffalo there. Possible 120 centimeters in Parry Sound. Buffalo around 165. Whatever way you slice it, it's too much snow for November the 20th. Now let's take a look at this. Snowfall watches and warnings in place. For you in the GTA, I want to point this out, the blowing snow warnings. This is around Kitchener, Cambridge, Waterloo. So just be mindful of that. You could be seeing some whiteout situations. Now also, snow amounts, so of course where Kasia is, all the way up in Parry Sound, 20 to 40 centimeters. Take it down the 400 to us here at home. We will not be seeing accumulating snow throughout the day today. Squall's a big issue with the westerly winds, and then the winds switch out of the north, and that's where places like London along the 401 could be getting into the squalls. Tomorrow, it's a much calmer day. Then we get the rain coming in on Saturday. Could be freezing rain in some areas throughout the morning. But then Sunday and towards Monday, this big low comes in, but it comes with a warm front. Okay, so I am actually quite sure that in next week's edition of Around the World in 80 Seconds, we will be telling you something about Buffalo. Because what a sight. Buffalo, New York, 165 centimeters of snow. It was a squall line off Lake Erie that would just not quit. And people shoveling the roofs of their cars, that was a common sight. I actually was reading a really interesting story about a women's basketball team that was stuck on their bus for over 24 hours. This one's also good. The Buffalo Bills were offering free tickets for people who could shovel out that stadium. Imagine that. 165 centimeters, that is my entire height. 165 centimeters of snow. Now, luckily, no one here in Canada has been dealing with 165 centimeters of snow in such a short period of time, but that's pretty close to the border now, isn't it? Now let's take a look at these watches and warnings in place right now. Closest to us here at home in the GTA, that's a blowing snow warning for Kitchener, Cambridge, Guelph included in that as well. For us here, not going to be seeing accumulating snow, but squalls to the north and to the south of us. And you'll have to think about keeping warm throughout the day today. So head to Subway, grab a coffee as well, because temperatures, well, they look like this. Minus 14, that's what it feels like with these very strong westerly winds, and minus 17 in Hamilton. Take it a little bit further north, also feeling that extreme wind chill, and also snow squalls likely throughout the day.